So now that we've investigated the importance of just getting a general overview of the situation with the home by asking some open ended, broad questions to the sales agent, as you're walking through, you might be interested to find out more about different aspects of the home. And so, more specific questions are fine to ask the sales agent. Let's have a look at what some of them are. General questions about the home. How long has the property been on the market? A property that's been on the market for a long time might indicate issues with the property or that it's overpriced. So, how long has it been on the market? Okay, so why has it been on the market that long? What's your opinion? Ask the sales agent that. They'll give you their opinion or they'll give you their answer that they've rehearsed. Okay, but they'll give you an answer which, if you are polite to them while you ask these more specific questions, then there is no way you can offend the sales agent. There's no way that you can make them feel confronted and not want to share information with you. You need to find out about the property because you're interested in buying it. It's it's the clever thing to do. It's it makes you a clever home buyer, does it not? So has the property's value changed recently? Knowing the property's value history can help you understand the market trends and whether the property is a good investment. Ask them what they believe is the reason why the property's value has changed recently. You might go onto realestate.com and see that the property's price has just recently dropped. Why so? Ask the sales agent. Or they've realized that they're now asking a more realistic price. Or they might give you another answer like the owner's health has deteriorated recently and they now want to move the property a bit more quickly. Or it might be that there's a number of other reasons. How much they disclose to you is important because then you can ask another probing question about that. It's all about the amount of knowledge you can get from the sales agent to learn about the property. So if there's been price reductions, if, for example, the seller has got deteriorating health, then that seller may well be interested in negotiations to further reduce the price. So it's information that is helping advise you on how to place your offer. So how long has it been vacant? If the home is not got anybody living there, why? Why is there no one living there? Is it because they had a tenant and the tenant moved out? Is it because someone died? Why is it empty? And these are legitimate questions that you should have no discomfort asking. All right, so what is the minimum price the seller will accept? That one is probably not going to be answered by the sales agent, especially not in a hot market. Like I've said many times, the sales agent's job is to get the highest price for their client. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we're unaware of. The sales agent might be super busy and just really wants to get this property off their books. The longer a property lasts on their books, the less it doesn't look as good for them. If you have a look at the reviews for sales agents, they'll say their average selling period is 33 days or whatever. They don't want homes being on their books for longer than they would like. Having said that, also, it might be that they will give you hints about how to place a good offer because they want to be able to submit something to their seller. Oh, we've had an interest at this price, then they can influence their seller maybe to reduce the price. So they shouldn't answer that question, but they might. Like I said, just be nice and ask the questions in a nice way. Is there a history of pest infestations? Now, this one here is not a confidential question. You need to know the answer to that. So the sales agent could say to you, nothing that I'm aware of. And if you were concerned because you can see termite activity, you can say to the sales agent, can you find out for me? And they should say, yes, I will. Has there been a death on the property? Some buyers may have personal or cultural concerns about purchasing a property where a death has occurred. If there's been a death on the property, they must tell you and disclose that to you if you ask. They're not going to tell you unless you ask. All right, condition of the home and maintenance of the home. Obviously, maintenance is something that there'll be less of it in the newer the home is. Although that's, provided they had a good builder, yeah, and good tradespeople. Does every ceiling fan work on all speed levels? You could go around and test all that. You could ask the sales agent. The sales agent may say, I don't know. You'll say, oh, do you mind checking and getting back to me about that? I'd love to see the sales agent's response if they've had 19 offers on the table and then now you come in and say, do you mind checking all the fans for me? They're probably likely to say, in this instance, I probably won't have time to. But if you call them later, and that's one of your concerns, is you didn't have time to check the ceiling fans and some of them look pretty old, you could say to them, do you mind asking the seller to verify that all the ceiling fans work on all speed levels? Or in addition, I know it was summer when we went through there, and so I didn't feel comfortable putting the heater on the split system, but can you please ask the seller to confirm that the air conditioner works in cool mode and in heating mode, and have that reply come through in email so that you have it in writing. That's little shortcuts that you can take. So when was the air conditioner last serviced? Regular servicing indicates proper maintenance and can prevent future breakdowns. The sales agent might not know the answer to that question. That's fine. You say, do you mind asking your seller to let me know? And it might be that you ask these questions in an email to the sales agent. They then reply to that email in writing with the answers to those questions because they've asked the seller on your behalf. Has the home ever flooded? You don't have to just live in a flood zone to need to ask that question. There could be flooding from other events such as burst water pipes. Because the 3 reasons you should really be concerned about a property is water, moisture problems, pest infestation problems, and structural problems. They are the 3 red flags. Has the seller done any DIY renovations? And DIY, that's a biggie because they might have DIY'd that bathroom there, but was it waterproofed properly? They might have DIY'd that deck. Was it a council approved deck? So it's great to ask that question about DIY in addition to jobs that were council approved. They might say, oh yeah, they did replace the cover over the patio themselves. Ask those questions, and then you need to discuss that with your conveyancer if you need to talk about whether or not that needs council approval. Did it have council approval? Don't forget your conveyancer is on your team. The sales agent is on the seller's team. Are there any unapproved improvements or extensions? An improvement is something that improves the value of the home. Ask that question. Are there any unapproved ones? The sales agent is likely to say, no, everything's approved. You'll go, great. So what certificates do we have? What building approvals do we have? Are there any known issues with the plumbing or electrical systems? And this ensures essential systems are functioning properly and helps avoid unexpected repair costs. Is that toilet that's off the garage, does it flush properly? Does the light switch in the garage turn on? Are there any light switches that don't work? When were the appliances, for example, the oven, last updated or serviced if it was the electric garage door? So we get to understand the condition of the home and any maintenance issues that may arise if you were to buy that home. The last thing you want is you've just finally been able to afford to buy a home and now you realise that winter's coming and the air conditioning system doesn't heat the house. So that's some questions about the property. There are also specific questions about the neighbourhood and surroundings. A good sales agent will be able to tell you what the neighbours are like. They will have spoken to the neighbours. They will have introduced themselves and said, hi, we're selling the home next door. We just thought we'd say hello. They will be able to tell you what the sellers have said about the neighbours, and understanding the neighbourhood dynamics can help you determine if it's a good fit for your lifestyle. Yes, there's a doctor who lives next door, and on this side here, there's a young family with children in daycare. It just gets you a good comprehension of what you're buying into. What's the noise level like in the area? So you might be there at 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning. You notice that there's a school down the street. Ask the sales agent, what's the traffic like around 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 8:30 in the morning? They should be able to tell you. A good sales agent should. A poor sales agent might say, oh, I don't know. I've never driven past here at that time. It doesn't mean they're poor. It just means that they haven't done that. Whether or not they should have done that is your decision. Are there any planned developments nearby? So you've got a beautiful big block of land next door to the home that you're buying. It's got a gorgeous uninterrupted view. And if you're not going to ask the question, the sales agent's not about to tell you that there's a block of flats about to be built there and they'll start building in 3 months. And that's why this seller is selling. What are the local schools like? How accessible is the public transport? Obviously, you can do this yourself with your desktop due diligence that we covered in Module 3, but you can ask these questions if you haven't done that due diligence. Although I would like you to have, you can still ask the questions because they might say, oh, look, the schools in the area are great, but how do you really, what does that mean unless you've researched the schools in the area yourself and the public transport that's nearby? So there's a bus stop that's only 50 metres away. Great. Where does that bus go? Does it have to go all around the neighbourhood before it takes me to where I want to go? You know, do that research yourself. Are there any encumbrances or restrictive covenants? Now, the new seller's disclosure regime will absolutely answer these questions for you, but that's out on the 1st of August, depending upon when you watch this video. Are there any ongoing legal disputes involving the property? Strata scheme. So if this home is not a freestanding house, it's likely it's part of a strata scheme. And that means that there's a committee that manages the land that this home is on and the shed services. To ask these questions about that. We've obviously covered a lot more about body corporate in a different module. However, that's what a strata scheme is. If you've not got a freestanding home on its own block of land, then it's likely that if it's a unit or a townhouse or a duplex, it could be part of an owner's corporation where you have got a committee who looks after the decisions and the bylaws and the rules, what you can and can't do in your home. Are you allowed to have a pet? If there's communal clotheslines, what's your day for being able to use the clothesline? You know, where's your car park? So you need to get further information about the strata scheme if there is one. How much money have they got at the bank? Why is there no money in the bank? Additional considerations. What is included in the sale? What are the fixtures and fittings that are part of the home? What's negotiable? So I noticed that I really love that television that's on the wall there. Are they interested in leaving that behind? Because it fits that area perfectly. And my one at home's a lot smaller. You know, talk about that with the sales agent. He might, or she might say, do you know what? They might be willing to leave that behind because I know that they're moving overseas and they probably don't want to take it with them. So you find out questions like that. Are there any special conditions or contingencies in the contract? So the contract of sale, they should have a copy of it on hand. Great. At the back of the contract, there's an area where they can list special conditions. And don't worry, we've got a whole module on contracts, but ask about those special conditions. Are there any special conditions? And if so, what are they? They might be written in lawyer gobbledygook and you really can't understand what that means. And so ask the sales agent to explain to you what that means. Utilities and services. They should advise you on the rates and water fees. And in fact, in the new seller's disclosure regime, they need to tell you the actual amount of that. And I think we spoke in the general property questions that you need to know about any appliances that come with the home, what condition they're in, and are there any that are still under warranty? So you can have a copy of that paperwork submitted with the home. That would be nice if the seller still has it. So there you go. I've got all of these questions written here. There are others that will come to mind when you're walking through the home. Why doesn't the tap in the bathroom work? I've turned it on, but it doesn't work. If you've got any flags that have been recorded on your videos and you need to know more about them, then ask specific questions about those. But on the whole, I just want you to realize that asking specific questions does not mean you are a nosy or annoying buyer. It means that you are a clever buyer. And in fact, the sales agent, if you have a good relationship with them and you're being polite, they will hold you in higher esteem and probably show you a bit more respect. And you'll become a more memorable buyer who, if you are interested in the home, when it comes time to negotiating, they will remember these conversations with you and remember that you're a polite person, that you're easy to deal with, and potentially preferred to have the negotiations with you. If they have a choice if there's 6 people to choose between, they are the ones who are going to help the seller determine where they're going to start negotiating and who with. And so that included with all of the way that you present your offer, the questions that you ask, the way that you conduct yourself, it's all making you a clever home buyer and setting you up for success. Thanks for watching this video. I'm sorry it was a bit detailed, but I don't think you can get too detailed when you're spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on a home. Great to see you again, and I look forward to seeing you in another video.